Hey, what's up, guys? It's Flames Kurai. I recently realized that my Evilswarm deck was doing a little funky at 44, so I decided to edit it up and got it back down to 40. I also got a bunch of new cards that I needed to make this deck better, so this is the updated version of my Evilswarm deck. This is the version that I'm hoping to take to the tournament. I didn't previously say that because I didn't actually think I'd be able to get my hands on the cards that I have for this version of it. But you know what? I won't complain. Well, naturally. So anyway, into the deck profile. We have 3 casters still, because regardless, he's always the boss monster of the deck, pretty much, next to Carry Kaon, of course. The 3 Heliotrope stays the same. Then, naturally, we have the 3 Carry Kaons, and the usual 3 copies of Mandragora. This time, I decided to cut down to 2 of Thunderbird, because I realized 3 was being a little cloggy. I mean, normally, I like having things to draw, but I've got Evilswarms to draw specifically, but with how my deck currently is, I don't actually need to worry about whether or not I'm going to end up drawing into an Evilswarm. To the non-Evilswarm engine, we have 2 tour guides still. I'm considering running 3, but I'm not entirely sure about that. And for new cards, we have 2 copies of Effect Veiler. This was in my original build, and I absolutely loved it. The only problem was I didn't have a second Effect Veiler, and I don't like running one of her. She's just too good to run only one of. Next up, there's Max C, because yeah, Max C. He's always staying. And then for the Heliotropes, Rescue Rabbit. There weren't a whole lot of changes with the monsters, but those changes, trust me, I fought an artifact deck, a Shadow deck, and a Fairy Burn deck the other day, and wrecked shop with it. For the spells, we have the 3 Pandemics. I decided to move MST down to 2. And cited the 3rd one, because I had to make room for a couple of the new cards I had, and 3 MST isn't absolutely necessary. I don't mind that, I just didn't want to get rid of the 3rd, so I decided to cite it instead. Naturally, we still got the 1 Allure of Darkness. For one of the new cards, we have Pot of Dichotomy, since most of the entire deck is built up of different types of monsters. And this is also why I'm also considering running a 3rd tour guide, because you can shuffle one of them back into the deck. If it ends up being Veilered or Breakthrough Skilled or whatever, and you can put it back in the deck for your second one. Naturally, we got the 1 Reinforcement of the Army, 1 Book of Moon, and 1 Dark Hole. So that's the change with the spells. Next up, naturally, 3 Fiendish Chains. That card is just way too good to cut down to 1 as far as I'm concerned. I know it ends up being a dead card if your opponent tunes for or whatnot, but it's still a really good card, and is really good at interrupting combos. Next up, we have 2 copies of Comicut, because I actually found these because I was looking through my cards the other day and actually found these. I have a 3rd one somewhere, but before I could slip it into the side deck, it kind of disappeared, so yeah. We have 1/7 Tools of the Bandit. I want this to be a wiretap, but sadly nobody has one up for trade, so I can't get one. So right now it's a 7 Tools of the Bandit. Naturally, we have Infestation Infection, your searching card. We have the Macrocosmos. Yeah, I recently traded for an ultra rare one, and that made me really happy. We have Mirror Force and Solemn Warning. So that's it for the main deck. I know they weren't super drastic changes to the main deck. However, those changes were enough to actually alter how well this deck does against certain decks. For the extra deck, sadly, I still only have 2 Ophions, so there's 2 Ophions. Next up, the 2 Bahamut. I'm actually not entirely sure I'm ever going to cut this down to 1 because I know I said I was going to consider it in my last video. However, I just really love Bahamut. He's just such a troll card, and I've made so many people hate me. I ended up stealing an El Shaddai construct with this one at one point. It was just wonderful. I also stole a window once, but sadly they had a dark hole waiting. So, anyway, next up, Ouroboros, because he's just too good. Next up, for one of my new cards, Evilswarm Exciton Knight. I got my hands on one. It made me really happy. There's not a whole lot of times where I've been pushed into a corner. However, if I get pushed into a corner, I can make the field explode and go, that's what happens when you do. Pushing Evilswarms into a corner is a bad idea. Next up, number 66, Master Key Beetle. Then for the rank 3 Brigade, Leviathan Dragon, Fortune Tune, and Levier. Fortune Tune over Zen mains because, like I said, sometimes you have to go on defense, and Fortune Tune will get shuffled back into your extra deck when it's destroyed. And you get your 2 tour guides back, so. Next up, Gaga Cowboy. Next, Karen Gorgon, the anti-luminescent knight. Yes, I know it's in bad shape. I found it at a park, near where my parents live, and I'm really glad I got to it when I did, because the poor thing was just in really bad shape. But I have it now, and it's safe. Anyway, next up, number 80, Rhapsody and Berserk, because dealing with graveyard cards is just a serious issue right now, so Rhapsody is a really good card. And then, naturally, the number 101, Silent Honor Arc, because he is Evilswarm Exciton Knight's partner in crime, as far as I'm concerned. And now, for the 15th card, the one synchro in the deck, Ally of Justice Catastor, because Catastor never really lost his applicability with me. Catastor, to this day, is an amazing card. As far as I'm concerned, they shouldn't have made it as low as level 5. Because a generic level 5 that can say, guess what, you're not dark, so you're dead, is just overpowered as all heck. Anyway, for the side deck, we have Evilswarm a Lantern, because, well, I moved him to the side deck because the immediate need to shoot stuff wasn't entirely necessary, so I moved him to the side deck in case I end up coming across a deck where I just need to start shooting the heck out of everything. Still, one Flying Sea, the MST that I told you I moved to the side deck, and then I got a really trolly thought. Macrocosmos is a really fun card, and what card is limited next to Macrocosmos? Dimensional Fissure, because when you really need to fuck with your opponent's graveyard, Dimensional Fissure's a really good card to back up. I mean, it doesn't side as well against Prophecies, but you know what? It works all the same against everything else. Next up, we have Soul Drain, extra graveyard negation, Infestation Infection for those to side in for when your opponent doesn't rely on a bunch of spell and traps to destroy your monsters, so instead swap out one of your Infestation Pandemics for this. 2 copies of Overworked for things like Burning Abyss and, those other decks that focus on altering their attacks. I know Fire Fists are trying to come back, but they're just not managing to pull through. 2 Starlight Roads. I finally got my hands on that second Starlight Road, so this may end up coming out, I'm not entirely sure, but for right now it's just staying here. Next up, Needle Sealing. I still want that second one. I'm talking to one of my friends about getting another Needle Sealing off him, but for right now I'm stuck with one. And then I decided to side those 2 Divine Wraths, because the constant need to discard something. Normally, well, put it simply, my deck had got to the point where it was getting tired of trying to give me things to discard so I could use this, so I decided to move it to the side deck. because it's too, as far as I'm concerned, Divine Wrath is too good in the current meta to just cut out, so I decided to move it to this side deck. Anyway, that's my deck profile. Tell me what you think of it, what I could do to make it better, because like I said, I'm planning on taking this to a tournament, and I really want to do what I can to make it better. So give me your input and tell me what you think of it. Peace out.